Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wealthy Trustee webinar. So tonight I am going to be teaching you guys how to set up a trust. It is 2024 and we do need to get our affairs in order. So I'm super excited that you guys are here. So for my people who are on Zoom, can you please come on camera if you're able to? I would appreciate that. I see we have a lot of iPhones in the house, so if you could rename yourself so that I can see what your name is and we can get up close and personal, that will be nice. So I see we have Camera, Marcus, Patricia, Riddell, Prince, TJ, Jerry. Hi. How is everybody? And then like I said, we got a couple of iPhones here. We have SB in the house. So hello. So I know that you guys are interested in finding out what a trust entity is. So that is what I'm going to be teaching you guys tonight. I'm going to be teaching you all about trust, okay? So we are going to dive in and get started. I do have, hold on, let me see, but I can't hear. Hold on, let's see. Let me check the chat real quick. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me? So Jerry said, okay, Jerry
Yes.
said disregard.
Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you.
All right. Thank you. Hi, Patricia. So nice to see you. Okay, perfect. Prince can
Hi.
hear me. All right. Talk Money Coach. What's up, multimillionaires? All right. So, what you guys want to do is also, if you know anybody who needs this information, go ahead and send them the Zoom link so that they could join us tonight because I'm about to get started. I'm gonna pull up my slides for this short presentation. So if you know anybody who wants to set up a trust, who's ready to get their affairs in order, establish their estate so that they can protect their assets, then go ahead and invite them to the Zoom. And if you're on Instagram, go ahead and DM or comment the word webinar so that you could get the Zoom link, okay? So let me go ahead and pull up this slides. And let me know where you guys are tuning in from tonight. So I am in Miami, Florida. So where are you guys at? All right. Let's see here. All right, so let's get started. So like I said, this is the Wealthy Trustee webinar. So I'm going to be teaching you guys how to set up a trust and how to actually build wealth the right way, right? How to transfer your wealth the right way. So we're going to, dive into this, okay? So my name is Christina Ivette. I am a trust strategist. So I have been a trustee since 2015, you guys. And the way that I got into becoming a trustee was I was actually a registered nurse and I was living paycheck to paycheck. I was working 5 days, 12-hour shifts. So I would work from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, right? On my feet all day and 5 days a week. And I had a new baby, right? So my son at the time was 1 years old, and I was not spending any time with him, to be honest with you. He was actually being raised by my mom because I only saw him for, a day and a half, and then I would have to roll right back into the hospital. So I realized that I was actually spending more time with my coworkers than I was with my new baby. And so I knew something had to change. And I knew that I had to stop trading my time for money. So what I did was I actually went to a seminar, right? I went to a conference where they were talking about real estate investing. They was talking about flipping houses and teaching people how to do it. So I signed up for mentorship and I started to learn how to flip houses. And so 2 years into me being a nurse and to me saving money, I was actually able to purchase my first rental property. And the way that that happened was my mentor actually became a hard money lender. So he lent me the money for that house. So I bought this two-bedroom house for $89,000 and I end up flipping it for $235,000. But before I even purchased this property, my mentor told me that I needed to put that property into a trust because at that time I was young. I didn't know what I was doing. This was my first property. It was going to be under rehab, so that means that anything can happen, right? Contractors, subcontractors, they could get injured. If they get injured on the job, guess what? They're going to sue me and then they're going to take away my property. So I could not allow that to happen, right? This was my first property. This was my ticket out of the hospital, right? This was my ticket to being able to spend as much time as I wanted to with my new baby. So I put that property under a trust. I listened to my mentor. I created a trust. I put that property under a trust. And ever since then, I've been operating as a trustee. So that was way back in 2015 when I was 25 years old. So now today I have helped hundreds of people set up their trust estate and protect their assets. And I'm going to show you guys tonight exactly what you need to do in order for you to implement that process for yourself so that you can actually protect your assets, all right? Because you do not want to hold assets in your personal name. That is a liability. And we'll go through that tonight, okay? And then if you guys have any questions for me, I would love to answer your questions, okay? So quick disclaimer, this is not tax advice or legal advice. I am not an attorney. I'm not a certified public accountant, okay? So I am a trustee. I created my own trust. I've been operating as a trustee, and I'm going to teach you how to do the same thing, okay? How you can create a trust, how you can actually operate as a trustee, okay? So the objective of tonight is for you to learn what is a trust, the different contributors in the trust, how to operate it, how to protect your assets, how to build wealth with it, and some tax strategies. So we have these different companies, right? We have Trump, we have ExxonMobil, Amazon, all of these billion-dollar companies. And the question that you need to ask yourself is, how is it that these billionaires, right? We've heard them say, I don't pay taxes because I'm smart, or I pay less taxes than my secretary. How is it that they're able to do that, right? How can they pay less taxes than their secretary? Well, because they have trust within their structure, okay? So you need to be properly structured in order to reduce your taxation so that you could build wealth efficiently and effectively, and you could transfer it the right way, okay? So what is a trust? A trust is an entity, you guys. So you are an entity. I'm an entity. We are living, breathing entities. And a trust is seen just like us. It's seen like a natural person. So anything that you can do, a trust can also do. Okay. So if you could buy a house, a trust could buy a house. If you could build credit, a trust could build credit. If you could write a book, a trust could write a book. Okay. So a trust is a contract, you guys. It's an agreement between two parties. Those parties are the grantor and the trustee of the trust, which we'll go through in just a minute, okay? And so with that being said, there are several different parts to this contract. So the first part is the declaration. So you are declaring what it is and you are declaring what it is not. So you are declaring that it is a trust, right? It is a private contract, right? And you are declaring that it is not a corporation. It is not a limited liability company. It is not a partnership, okay? So those are the different parts. Plus, there are several other parts, but those are the two most important ones, okay, that we're going to be talking about. So now let's dive into the different parties involved in this contract. So the first party is the grantor, okay? The grantor, another name for grantor is settlor or trustor, okay? You might hear those things when you're doing your research about trust. So with that being said, the grantor is the creator of the trust, okay? That is the individual who has established the trust for somebody else, for the benefit not of themselves, but for the benefit of someone else. That person is the beneficiary, okay? So that person is the one who's going to be benefiting from the trust. So the grantor, one, creates the trust. Two, usually they put the first asset into the trust or they fund the trust fund, okay? The next party involved is the trustee. So the trustee is the individual who is going to be operating the trust on a day-to-day basis, okay? So that is the individual who is actually managing all the assets, has all the power and all the control when we're talking about the trust, okay? So if you are going to pick one of those two positions, you want to pick the trustee position because you want to be able to control your assets. The next party involved is the beneficiary. So that is the person who is going to be receiving the assets once the trust is terminated, but that's the person who is going to actually be benefiting from the assets that's inside of the trust, okay? So those are the three parties involved. There's several different types of trust. There's hundreds of types of trust, okay? I'm going to quickly tell you some different types, but just know that there's hundreds of trusts out there. So you have to choose the best trust for you, your family, your business organization, okay? So the first type of trust is express versus implied, which means that an express trust is a trust that is written, okay? It is in black and white. It's on contract. It's on paper, right? It is in a contract style, and it's where you can actually sign it. Versus an implied trust is an oral trust. So that trust is actually verbal between the two parties, and that's pretty much not going to hold up in court, but you can have verbal or oral agreements, okay? So that's the first category. The second category is statutory versus non-statutory. So with a statutory trust, that is when you have an entity that has the state statutes and codes inside of the contract, okay? So whatever state that you actually set up this trust in, that state, for example, let's just say New York, right? New York has state statutes and codes, right? So those state statutes and codes are going to be embedded inside of the contract, which means that state can now regulate that entity. That's one. Two, usually that entity is registered with the state, which is not what you want. And then you're going to be restricted to only operate that trust in that state where you set it up because of the state statutes and codes that are inside of the contract, okay? With a statutory entity, usually attorneys, they draw up these types of trusts for you, okay? So on the contrary, you have a non-statutory. With non-statutory, it means that it operates under the jurisdiction of common law. So every single state has a common law legal system, okay? And so that means that there's no state statutes and codes inside of that contract. It doesn't need to be registered with that state, which is good. And you can operate it anywhere where there's a common law legal system, which means that you can operate it in the entire nation, okay? So all 50 states plus the territories in the United States, okay? Which is good because you're not going to have any restrictions when you want to, do business in another state or acquire assets in another state, okay? So that's the type of trust that you want. And then the next category is revocable versus irrevocable, okay? So with a revocable trust, that means that the grantor, which is the person who created it, they can revoke things, okay? So that means that if they were to put property into the trust, they can take the property back, right? They can terminate the trust at any point in time. They can remove the trustees and beneficiaries. They can also amend the trust or make changes to the trust, okay? So that is what a revocable trust is. And because it can be changed by the person who created it, it is not going to be fully protected, meaning that creditors can actually, one, come after that type of trust because it's revocable, and two, if that trust were to end up in court, the judge could actually decide to pierce through the trust and force you to produce the trust in court, which means that now that trust is going to be a part of the public records. And so everyone's going to see, the contents of the trust, which is what's inside of it, who's the beneficiary, the trustees, what assets you have. So you don't want that. You want your trust to be solidified. You want it to be bulletproof. And that's why the best type of trust is an irrevocable trust, right? So with an irrevocable trust, the grantor or the person who establishes it, right? That person has what we call irrevocability, which means that they cannot take back property that they put into the trust. They cannot make changes to the actual trust. They cannot remove the trustees, the beneficiaries, or they cannot terminate the trust even if they wanted to, okay? And creditors cannot come after this type of trust. It's seen as bulletproof, and judges decide not to pierce through this trust because they want to uphold contract law, okay? So if you were to pick a type of trust out of these categories that I just told you about, you definitely want an express trust that's written. You want a non-statutory trust so that you can operate it anywhere and everywhere in the US. And you want an irrevocable trust so that it's bulletproof and it's not going to be pierced and creditors can't come after it, okay? So with that being said, the first thing that you want to do when you are creating a trust is you want to determine what type of trust is best for you and best for your family, okay? So I just told you guys, some different types of trust. So you have to choose the one that's best for you. Once you've decided, then you want to actually name the trust, okay? So when you're naming the trust, please do not name the trust after yourself, okay? Do not do that, because the whole purpose of you actually creating this trust is to maintain your privacy, okay? So you want to have what we call obscurity, where people don't know that you actually own that house, that you own that car, that you have, the $1 million in the bank account, okay? So that's why you do not want to name the trust after yourself. If your name is John Doe, you do not want to name the trust John Doe, okay? That is defeating the entire purpose. So when you're naming the trust, you can name it anything. You can use your last name if you wanted to, but please don't use your first. You can also use abbreviations. You can use random names like, Sunflower Garden Trust, right? You can use anything like that, okay? So when you're naming your family trust, you might want to use the term family, generation, legacy, dynasty, things like that. When you are naming a business trust, you want to use things like company, corp. You can use the abbreviations LLC because those are abbreviations. All right. You could also use the term holding, right? If you're using it as a holding company. Okay. So just think about a name. But one thing for sure is that you do not have to have the word trust in the name of your trust, okay? It doesn't have to end in trust like LLCs and all those other entities, okay? So when you are naming your trust, that's what you want to do. Next, you're going to appoint the different parties, okay? Remember we said there's a grantor, there's a trustee, there's a beneficiary. You have to appoint these people. So first and foremost, the best type of trust, the bulletproof trust, is the irrevocable trust, okay? But the grantor has irrevocability, right? And you can't serve as both parties. So if you decide, hey, I want the best type of trust, which is the irrevocable trust, but I don't want to be the grantor because they can't control the assets. I want to be the trustee. So that means that you are going to appoint someone to be your grantor on paper. That person could be a family member, okay? So it could be your sibling, your parent, your grandparent, your neighbor, your best friend, whoever is able to actually notarize the trust with you. You're going to put them there. The beautiful thing about you choosing an irrevocable trust is that the grantor has no control, no power, no influence, and no beneficial interest, okay? So you don't have to worry about the fact that you're choosing your best friend to be your grantor because they have no power and no control legally. Look it up. Okay, so now you're going to appoint yourself to be the trustee because you want all the power, all the control. You're going to make all the decisions. You're going to be the one operating it, okay? And you can make all the changes. So for example, if you was to put your house in the trust, Because you're the trustee, you can take out your house from the irrevocable trust at any point in time, okay? So I don't want there to be any confusion with this point. So you're going to appoint yourself as a trustee, you're going to appoint someone else to be the creator on paper, and then you're going to appoint your children to be your beneficiaries, or it could be another entity as well. So any of these three parties can be either a natural person, which is you or your children, or they can be an entity, okay? So a corporation, an LLC, or another trust. Next, we're going to create the trust. Like I said, we're creating a contract, okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create this contract. And I'll show you guys what a trust looks like at the end of this webinar, okay? If you guys are on Zoom or YouTube, okay? So next, after that, you have to notarize the contract in order to make it legal. That is how you're able to start operating your trust, is by one, you've created your trust, your contract, okay? And then you notarized it. So the grantor and the trustee, they both have to sign in front of a notary. That's what makes it legal. Once it's legal, you can start operating it. The first thing that you want to do is you want to open up a bank account, okay? So you're going to go down to the bank. You're going to tell them that you want to open up an account for an irrevocable trust or a trust. And then you're going to have to produce two things. One is the EIN number, just like how your LLC and corporation have an EIN, so will your trust for banking purposes. And then the next thing that you want is your certificate of trust. Your certificate of trust is very similar to your operating agreement, where it actually is the proof of identity that shows that this entity exists. Because one thing about a trust, unlike an LLC, is that you can't go down to the Secretary of State's website to look it up to make sure that it is actually a legal entity. So they have to go based off of that certificate. Once you opened up your bank account, like I said, you can start operating it. So the most important thing that you're going to do after you open up your bank account is transfer assets into the trust. Because the whole reason why you set up your trust was so that you could actually protect your assets, okay? And so you need to actually put your assets into the trust for them to be protected. The way that you do that, for example, is, let's just say that you have a house, right? That house is in your personal name. And I don't know if you know this, but it's on the public records, right? So if somebody was to go down to the county website and they were to put your name, John Doe, every single house that you own in that county is going to show up, okay? And so that is how easy it is for someone who wants to sue you, or a lawyer who's doing their research, is able to see what your net worth is or what assets that you own or possess, okay? So you want to protect yourself. And with that property, like I said, it's in your personal name. So what you're going to do is that deed that's in your personal name, you're going to quit claim it and you're going to deed it over to the name of the trust. So now it's going to represent on the county's website that the house is owned by the trust and not by you, okay? Which is how you transfer your asset into the trust and how you protect that asset, okay? So let's keep moving on. So what I'm telling you now is that asset protection is the number one reason why you want to set up your trust, okay, guys? We're talking about, for example, we're talking about this house, right? And so this house is in your personal name, right? If you were to not wake up tomorrow, how do you expect that house to be transferred from your personal name to your son or to your daughter? So we never, ever, ever ask ourselves this question. We never ask ourselves, how is this going to happen? How are my assets going to be transferred, right? We are so busy acquiring the assets. Some of us got 10, 15, 20 properties, right? Some of us have crypto, we have stocks, we have 401ks, we have all of these things. But we never ask ourselves, how is that house going to be transferred to my child if I don't wake up tomorrow? Well, unfortunately, if you don't have a trust, let's just say you have a will, or let's just say that you don't, right? Then that means that it's going to take a judge in order for that house to be transferred from your personal name into your child's name. And that's called probate. And we're going to go through that in just a moment. So asset protection is the number one reason why you want to set up a trust. Okay, you don't want these creditors coming after the asset that you work so hard for. Okay, I see it. And so that's one. And then two is privacy, right? You don't want anybody to walk around and know, hey, John got 5 properties, or Sarah got, I don't know, like 10 houses and 2 cars, right? You don't want that to happen. And so privacy and asset protection should be your goals. So what can you protect yourself against? Well, you can protect yourself against bankruptcy and foreclosure, right? Because if that house is in an irrevocable trust, they can't come after it, okay? You can also protect yourself from divorce, right? People change. And so that person that once loved you may fall out of love with you and take half of your stuff. But if your stuff is inside of a trust, right? Meaning the house, the car, the money, the 401k, all that stuff, right? If it's inside of a trust, guess what? That trust is separate from you. So if your spouse is suing you, right? Because a lot of people don't know that divorce is a lawsuit, right? Between two spouses. So if that person is divorcing you, that and anything and everything that's inside of that trust cannot be included in the divorce. Okay, the divorce is between those two individuals. And so everything that is in their name, in your name, and that person's name, is what's included inside of the divorce. Okay, next, heavy taxation, right? So your trust can actually protect you from being taxed a lot, right? A lot of us are giving away 50% of our taxes or more. So you got to learn how to utilize a trust so that you can actually reduce your taxes, right? There's a special trust that we use within our structure. It's a tax exempt trust. You automatically exempt from federal taxes. So why not, right? I'll get to that in just a moment. Then the next one is lawsuits, right? Do not wait to get sued to protect your assets, okay? So for example, let's just say that you own a business, right? And that business is an LLC. LLC stands for limited liability company, right? Limited liability. So that means that the company doesn't have full liability. And that means that you as the owner doesn't have full liability or no liability, right? So we have to, hear exactly the trigger words of what we're operating here, okay? So you're operating an LLC. So with that being said, let's just say that somebody decided to sue your business. What is going to happen? Well, if somebody is suing your business, then they can, they can go after the business and the business assets, okay? Let's just say that you lost the judgment. And so now there's a judgment for your business and the business can't pay. Then guess what? The judge is going to come after the owner, right? So that's where that limited liability comes into play, right? Because the judge can decide to pierce through that veil, right, of protection and go after the owner of the LLC, which is you. And if they go after the owner of the LLC, which is you, that means that all of your personal assets are up for grabs, which means that your house could be seized, your bank accounts could be garnished. Do you want that to happen? No. So do not wait to get sued in order to protect yourself, okay? We see it all the time. We see it all the time. Everyone, all of these, stars, they're getting sued, right? So you don't want that to happen. That's one. So two, let me give you an example. So let's just say that your LLC wasn't owned by you and you decided to protect that asset, right? Your LLC is an asset now. So you decided to protect that asset. And so now your LLC is owned by a trust. So once that customer decided to sue your business and go after it, well, guess what happens? If the judge decides to pierce through that veil, they're going to go after the trust, not after you. And if I'm the trustee of the trust, they still can't come after me because I have no liability for anything dealing with the trust. So that business trust is your first layer of protection dealing with that LLC. You want your company to be owned by a trust, not by you, okay? That is how you're going to be fully protected. So the last one that I want to tell you guys about when we're talking about asset protection is probate. Probate. Probate is absolutely inevitable, you guys. We're all going to go through probate. Unfortunately, some of us have already gone through that process and you know who you are. And you don't want that to happen, right? So it's inevitable unless you have a trust. So the only way for you to avoid probate legally and lawfully is by having a trust estate. So that means that you actually have to create your own estate, okay? So that's one. So let's talk about the probate process. What exactly is it? Because a lot of people, they heard the term, they don't know what it is. So this is what it is, right? So we've been talking about this one house that you own and how if you was not to wake up tomorrow, then how is that house going to be transferred to your children's name? Well, let's just say that you decided to set up a will, right? And you thought that the will was good enough, right? So unfortunately, a will end up in probate. Okay, so a will is a wish list, you guys. Okay, it's a notarized paper where you say, I wish for my son to have my house. I wish for my daughter to have my car. Okay, but a will can't own anything like a trust can. A trust is an actual entity that can own something, okay? So that's the difference between the two, which is what you need to know, okay? Because a lot of us are out here setting up wills, not even knowing that it's going to end up in probate anyways, and you're just wasting your time, okay? So with that being said, let's just say you decided to set up a will, and with this will, you have like all of your assets, right? So you didn't wake up tomorrow, you have a house, you have a car, you got a bank account with, $500,000 in it, right? You have debt too, you have student loan debt, credit card debt, all this stuff, right? So if you didn't wake up tomorrow, right, and you have all these assets in your personal name, then your entire estate, right, or all of your assets is going to end up in probate. And so the state where you live, right? So if you live in Florida, Florida is actually going to have to set up an estate for you because you didn't have your affairs in order, because you didn't set up your own estate. So the state now have to do it for you, okay? So it's going to happen regardless if you do it yourself or if the state does it for you after you expire. So you might as well do it when you're living, okay? So with that being said, the state has to now issue you an estate, and they're going to issue you a revocable trust, right? A revocable estate, which means that creditors can come after it, right? So they put all of your assets into this estate, okay? And what's going to happen is your creditors are actually going to get paid first. So if you have student loan debt, $50,000, if you have credit card debt, $50,000, guess what? The judge, right? So now you have to go through probate court, right? So all of your assets are put into this estate that was created by the state. And now it has to be represented in probate court. So now there's a judge who's going to make the final decision. And there's a probate attorney who is actually representing your estate, okay? So what's going to happen is the judge is going to pay off your debt, your student loan debt, your credit card debt, your mortgage, your car note, whatever it is, right? And then the attorney is going to get their fees, right? The probate attorney. Then the probate courts, they're going to get their fees. And whatever is left over is what your children get, what your heirs get, okay? So unfortunately, you're doing your family a disservice because you are actually allowing for the future of your estate, right? Or your property to be the decision of a judge that doesn't even know you. That judge doesn't know you. That judge doesn't know your kids, your family, how hard you work for that, house, that car, you know, that money in the bank. But because you decided not to set up your own estate, and because you wasn't thinking about how am I going to protect my assets or how I'm going to transfer my assets, then guess what? The judge decided to pay all your bills first and then actually give the leftovers to your children, okay? So you don't want that to happen, because during the probate process, your children, they just lost you, which was the most important person in their life. Trust me, I know. And they're grieving. So now you're dragging them through the court system while they're grieving, okay? So this could all be avoided. This whole probate process could be avoided if you set up your own trust and put your assets into the trust, okay? So if you decided not to wake up tomorrow, but your house is in the trust, your car is in the trust, your bank account is owned by the trust, and all of your money is inside of that trust-owned bank account, there's nothing that your children have to do. They can now grieve properly. There's no fighting involved, right? The whole probate process could take 6 months, 12 months, a year, 2 years. I've seen it 10 years, okay? So they don't have to go through that. That's one. Two, your debt dies with you. So that student loan debt, that credit card debt, it dies with you. It can't come after your trust estate, which is exactly what you want. That's exactly what you want, okay? So that's why you want to set up your own estate, you guys. Now, let's talk about the wealth building formula, okay? So with the wealth building formula, we have 3 pillars here. We have structure, we have credit, and we have invest. So let's talk about structure really quickly. So when we're talking about structure, there's 3 trusts that I recommend. So I recommend that you get a business trust, a private family trust, and a tax-exempt trust, okay? So let's break it down. The first one is the business trust. With the business trust, you can operate it in 2 ways, okay? The first way is you can actually use it as a holding company to hold your business assets, meaning that your business trust is now going to be the owner of your LLC or your corporation, right? Your C Corp. Or it's going to hold the assets of those companies. So if you have real estate, if you have heavy machinery, if you have trucks, things like that, okay? So the holding company is going to be non-operational, okay? Meaning that it doesn't have any products or services. You're still going to operate your LLC as normal the way it is. Your LLC is going to have the products, the services, the employees, all this stuff. And it's just going to be owned by the business trust, okay? So that's one way that you can do it. Or the other way is if you didn't want to set up an LLC or a corporation, you don't have to, because a trust is superior to those entities. So that means that, let's just say you wanted to start, you know, an Amazon business or online business, right? You don't have to go and set up an LLC to do that. You can just set up a business trust and start operating your online business, okay? And that obviously will be operational. So those are the 2 ways that you can actually utilize a business trust, okay? So now let's dive into it. Let's just say that you're using it as a holding company, right? And it owns your LLC. Well, your LLC just generated $100,000, right? An LLC is a pass-through entity. So that means that those funds or that revenue passes through to the owner. Well, the owner of the LLC is the business trust. So now that money is going to go straight to the business trust. So when you're filing your taxes for the LLC, it's a 0 tax liability because all the money went to the owner. So now that whole 100,000 is at the business trust level, okay? And so with the business trust, one thing about this entity that I love so much is that you actually spend the money first and you're taxed on what's left over. Versus us personally, right? We get taxed first and then we spend the leftovers, okay? So with the business trust is the other way around, which is the position that you want to be in, right? You want to get the money first, okay? So that 100,000, we got it. And then we did our normal deductions for our business expenses. So let's just say that our deductions were 20,000. So now there's $80,000 that's left. Well, what's going to happen with this 80,000 is you're going to be taxed on it, okay? Because a business trust is a for-profit entity. And with the IRS, they actually tax trust at a very high level, okay? So that the tax percentage is 38%, okay? So the beautiful thing about it is that you got to be strategic. You got to be creative. So we got this $80,000 that we're about to be taxed 38% on. What are you going to do, right? Well, you can actually distribute it to the beneficiaries, right? So for the trust has a beneficiary. All those funds can go straight to the beneficiary, and then the beneficiary is going to be taxed and the trust is not, right? So now at this point in time, we expended 20%, we distributed 80, we're left with 0, we're taxed on 0. Let's move on to the next trust, right? So the next trust is the private family trust. The private family trust is actually going to be the beneficiary of the business trust because we have a family, we need to spend money on our family, right? We got kids' tuition, we got groceries, we got mortgage, okay? So the family trust is going to be the beneficiary of the business trust. So that $80,000 went straight to the family trust, okay? So now that's income. So now what are we going to do? Well, you spend the money first, you're taxed on the leftovers. So you're going to spend the money, right? Mortgage, groceries, all this stuff, right? So that out of that 80,000, let's just say that you spent 70 of it and now there's only 10 left. Well, because it's a family trust, it's for profit. So what's going to happen is you're going to be taxed at 38%. So you're about to give the government or the IRS 3,800 of that 10,000. Or what you can do is you can donate it, okay? So that's why you want to have a for-profit and a nonprofit within your structure, because it's going to reduce your tax liabilities. You're going to be saving thousands of dollars. And guess what you can do with those thousands of dollars? You can invest it, right? So with that 3,800 or with that 10,000, instead of you giving 3,800, paying it out to the IRS, what you're going to do is you're going to donate that 10,000 to your tax exempt nonprofit trust, okay? And once you donate it, then for on the family trust level, your taxes become 0, right? So now you don't pay any taxes on the family trust level. And on the tax exempt trust that you just donated to, well, that trust is actually exempt from federal taxes, right? Because what is it? It's a nonprofit and it's tax exempt, right? And there's several different names for it, right? So one of the names is a 508c1a, this is the type of trust that it is. It's designated as a 508c1a, okay? The other names are church, ministry, faith-based organization. There's so many different ways of you being able to label this type of trust, okay? So with this type of trust, you can actually reduce your taxes. So one, it's exempt from federal taxes. So you never have to, one, pay federal taxes again for any donations, right? You don't have to file federal taxes. You don't have to report your bookkeepings or your records or anything like that, right? With this type of trust, it is the only mandatory exception to not having to file for a 501c3. So when we are dibbling and dabbling into the nonprofit world, right? All nonprofits are not tax exempt. You have to apply for tax exempt status through a 501c3, and you're either going to get approved or denied, okay? But with this type of trust, you don't even have to go through the application process because it's automatically exempt because of the separation between church and state. So you are going to be operating this faith-based organization, okay, which is a beautiful thing. So this could actually save you from a lot of taxes, right? So for example, two examples. One, let's just say that you have a property. You can qualify for property tax exemption, right? So let's just say that you are paying $5,000 a year for property taxes. Well, if you were to put your house into this trust, then guess what? You can qualify and get approved to be exempt from that $5,000 that you're giving to the county every single year. Okay, so that is one thing. So you're automatically exempt from federal, but you have to apply for state tax exemptions: sales tax, city and county property, and whatever other tax, okay? So that's another thing. Let's just say that you're a W-2 employee, right? Well, what you can do is you can donate up to 60% of your W-2 income into the tax exempt trust. And now, instead of you being taxed on 100% or on, let's just say $100,000, right? You're now going to only be taxed on 40% or $40,000, which is going to be saving you thousands of dollars that you can now use to invest and build wealth with, okay? So now let's move on to the second pillar, which is credit. OPM, people, other people's money. You want to build wealth with other people's money, okay? And so with a business trust, you can actually build business credit with a business trust. Just like an LLC, just like a corporation, a trust can build credit, and that's what you want, right? You want to be able to build credit so that you can leverage the credit, right? Because that's what we're doing. Like right now, you're only using your personal credit, which is one credit profile, but you can actually build business credit and use a second credit profile. Another thing is that with a business trust, because it's business, you can qualify for higher lines of credit, which is good because now you'll be able to leverage that and use it to acquire assets, okay? So that's exactly what you want to do, and we'll talk about that further. Another thing is that because you have a nonprofit within your structure, you can actually qualify for nonprofit grants, you guys, okay? So I actually have a student right now who's going through the application process for Google, right? Google actually gives you $10,000 per month for you to be able to run ads as a nonprofit. Just imagine what you can do with that, right? So now let's move on to the next pillar, which is invest, okay? Because we are in the business of building generational wealth. I see you working hard out here. I see you talking about it on the gram. So because we're building generational wealth, these are the two assets that I recommend. One is an index universal life insurance policy, and two is real estate, right? So you have that liquid asset, and then you have that tangible asset, okay? So let's talk about the IUL policy, right? So first and foremost, you want to be able to set up a policy, right? Because it's a life insurance policy. It's supposed to be used when you are living. A lot of us are confused. We're twisted. We think that life insurance is supposed to be used when we're dead, right? We think that, oh yeah, our kids is going to get the money when I'm dead, right? But no, there's so many living benefits to you being able to use your life insurance policy while you are alive. So you need to tap in, okay? So with this type of policy, it builds cash value, right? So it has a bucket where your premium goes in and is, building cash value so that you are able to now, you're able to access that cash value, which is what you want, okay? So one, this is a liquid asset, okay? It's seen as an asset. The insurance carriers also see it as an asset, okay? So it's totally liquid. You can access funds whenever you need to, okay? Which is good. Another thing with the IULs is that it mirrors the market, right? So your money is not inside of the market. So if the market crash, your money is protected, right? So it's risk-free. And with the index universal life, it actually mirrors the market. So whatever the market is doing, let's just say the S&P 500 is doing 9%, then what's going to happen is the insurance carrier is going to match that 9% and give you that return based off of what's in your cash value, okay? Which is good. That's what you want. That's how you're going to start building wealth. So you want to put yourself in a position to where you are actually paying yourself first. Do you know how important that is, right? We are doing things backwards, to be honest with you. We are not paying ourselves first, right? So normally, what is the process that you go through, right? Well, you get paid, right? So let's just say you got paid today. Well, The IRS already took their withholdings, right? So you paid taxes first, right? Then after that, you got the Social Security and the Medicare withholdings, and then you contributed to your 401k. So everyone else got paid, and then you got whatever was left over. Let's just be honest, okay? So you got the leftovers, okay? So you paid taxes first, and then you got, got the money in your checking account, right? And so then what do? Well, the first thing that you do is you pay for your mortgage. You go ahead and pay your utility bills. You go ahead and put gas in your car. So you're paying everyone else but you first, right? And so now whatever's left over, you just leave it in your checking account, or you'll transfer into a savings account. That's the wrong way of doing things, and you are not going to build wealth that way. I guarantee you that, okay? So on the contrary, on the contrary, instead of you doing that whole process that I just mentioned, what you want to do is you want to pay yourself first. So as soon as you get your paycheck, instead of you paying Bank of America, right, with your whole paycheck, instead of you paying your mortgage company, instead of you putting gas in your car or groceries or anything like that, what you want to do is you want to deposit your whole entire paycheck, all right, those funds, your money, into your IUL policy, right? And now it builds cash value, like I said. So let's just say that your paycheck was 5,000. So now your cash value went up by 5,000, and it's going to now build compound interest, you guys. So like I said, the carrier is going to match whatever the market is doing. If the market is doing 10%, then they're going to give you 10% on that $5,000, okay? But right? So now your cash value went up by 5, but you need that money. You need that money in order to pay your bills, in order to put groceries on the table. So what are you going to do? You're going to borrow from the insurance company. So you're going to take out a policy loan, okay? And they're going to direct deposit, or they'll write you a check, but you don't want a check. You want direct deposit, okay? So they're going to give you direct deposit into your bank account, exactly what you put in or what you have available, okay? So out of that 5,000, let's just say you have 4,900 available, right? So what's going to happen is they're going to direct deposit the 4,900 into your bank account, and now you're able to use it. So you just took out a loan from the insurance company's money. So your $5,000 is actually still inside of your cash value in your policy, working, making the 9-10%, right? But you just took out a policy loan, and the insurance company just issued you a check for the 4,900 from their money. Okay, so that's extremely powerful, because now you're building wealth because you're paying yourself first versus paying yourself last, right? Because if you would have paid your mortgage and your groceries and all of these things, you probably would have had, out of that 5,000, you probably would have had $1,000 left. And then that $1,000 is what you would have put into the policy. So do you want 9% on 5,000, or do you want 9% on 1,000, right? Which one is going to get you to building wealth faster? The 5,000. So pay yourself first versus paying yourself last, okay? So let's move on to real estate. So now so we just acquired our first asset, right? So you have to, when we're talking about this IUL policy, you want the policy to be owned by your trust. You want the trust to be the payer of the policy, and you want the trust to be the beneficiary of the policy. So I'll talk about that in just a moment, but it's super important because now your trust has an asset, which is the policy. So you just acquired your first asset for the trust, okay? So the second asset is real estate, right? And so the way you're going to do that is by, one, we just mentioned it, OPM, other people's money. You're going to build business credit with your business trust. And then you're going to leverage that credit, and you're going to, one, get a credit card. You're going to strip that credit card. So let's just say that they gave you a credit card for $50,000. Well, you're going to access those funds now. You're going to leverage that credit and use that $50,000 as a down payment on real estate, right? So when you are acquiring real estate, you can get investment loans for investment properties. So for the trust, we're going to pick up an investment property. We're going to get an investment loan. They're going to give us 80% of whatever the purchase price is. So now we just got to come up with 20%. How do we get the 20%? Through the business credit. We're going to leverage our business credit, and that's how we're going to get the 20%. And we literally just acquired real estate, zero down, because you use the business credit card plus the investment loan in order to acquire that asset. But the first thing that you're going to do, right, when you strip that credit card is you're going to deposit that $50,000 into your IUL policy, okay? So you just strip the money from the credit card, you deposit it into the insurance, into your policy. So now your cash value went up by $50,000, then you borrowed it back out, and you use it as a down payment for real estate. So now that $50,000 is working for you twice. Is working for you inside of the insurance policy, and then is working for you inside of that real estate, inside of that investment property, okay? And so now all of that rental income from that investment property, guess where it's going to go? It's going to go inside of the policy. It's going to be building your cash value. And then you're going to borrow it back out and you're going to pay your mortgage and your credit card. That is how you're going to acquire your second asset for your trust. You want to be able to have the trust self-sustaining. You don't want to have to pour in your W-2 money into the trust. The trust needs to be thriving on its own. The trust needs its own estate and its own income and its own assets, okay? So that is the position that you're going to put yourself in. So let's talk about how to actually transfer wealth. You want to own nothing but control everything. I'm going to say it again. You want to put yourself in a position to where you own nothing but control everything. That is the definition of stewardship. You want to be a good steward of your wealth, you guys. Think about protection. Think about transfer. You are so heavily fixated on, okay, I need to build the generational wealth. I need to build the generational wealth. Okay, and so you have all these material things, but they're not protected, which is not good, right? So own nothing but control everything. Right? And so that is stewardship versus ownership. You don't want to be focused on ownership, okay? Because like that's what you've been focused on. Me owning this house, which is understandable, but what you want is control over the house, right? You want to be able to control your assets because you have to understand that house is going to outlive you. If you don't wake up tomorrow, the house is still going to be there. So you want control over the asset while you're still living, okay? So the house needs to be owned by the trust so that if you don't wake up tomorrow, guess what? Your kids don't have to do anything. Your next of kin, whoever, they don't have to do anything because everything is owned by your trust, okay? So second thing, when we're talking about a trust, right? A trust is going to create trust certificate units, TCUs. Those are just like stock certificates, okay? So with stock certificates, they represent ownership in a company. Trust certificates represent beneficial interest in a trust because no one can own a trust, okay? You can only benefit from a trust. And so that's why we use TCUs to represent how much can I benefit from this trust. So if your trust if your trust is going to create 100 trust certificate units, and let's just say you have 4 beneficiaries and you want to distribute those trust certificate units, you're going to distribute them. So you're going to distribute 25, units per person, per beneficiary, okay? So the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then we're going to wrap it up here, is preservation, right? You want to be able to preserve your wealth. How many times have we heard it of these multimillionaire, billionaire families that by the second and third generation, they are broke? We hear it all the time. And so you don't want that to happen. So you want to have these tools in place to where you're actually preserving your wealth, you guys. And the way you're going to do that is by using a trust, and insurance. That is how important trust and insurance are, okay? So what's going to happen is your trust is going to take out a policy on every single person associated with your trust, okay? Because you are the one running the trust. You're the trustee. So you are what we consider a human asset to the trust, okay? You are human capital, right? And your beneficiaries are too. So the trust is going to take out a policy on you and all the beneficiaries and every single future beneficiary, okay? So that's one. The trust is going to be the payer of the policy. The trust is going to be the beneficiary of the policy and the owner of the policy, okay, which is extremely powerful. So that if anything were to happen to you, the trust is actually experiencing a loss, and so the trust needs to be compensated for that loss. So the death benefit from that insurance policy is going to go to the trust, and it's going to replenish the trust fund, okay? So that's how you're going to preserve your wealth, you guys, which is super, super, super important, okay? So these are the books that I recommend. What Would the Rockefellers Do? That is a really good book teaching you guys how to, how to use trust and insurance, okay? The next one is The Art of Passing the Buck, Volume 1 and 2, which teaches you guys about trusteeship. The next one is Family Wealth, which teaches you guys how to set up a family office. And the last book is The Complete Book of Trust, which teaches you guys the different types of trust, okay? Remember I told you there's hundreds of types of trust, okay? So you guys need to take action on the information that I provided you guys with tonight, okay? It's super important that you get your affairs in order and that you, one, protect your assets, two, preserve your wealth, and three, create your own estate. That's the most important thing, because now this could be one, the new way of you doing business, and two, the new way of you actually reducing your taxes so that you could build wealth faster, you guys. So you need to take this absolutely serious. So I'm actually going to show you guys a quick little video of a trustee who took action on the information that I provided on this webinar.
Well, kudos to you all. Again, Christina, it's been a wonderful experience. I've been looking at your videos on YouTube for a while, and there are a number of people offering trust these days, and I guess that's the big thing. Don't own anything, control everything. That kind of, I didn't say it correctly, but that is the sentiment. And so it seems like the playing field is being leveled now from the rich and people who weren't privy to this information. So thank you for being such a great asset to a community that didn't have this information. And you made it so simple. Thank you.
Oh. All right, guys. The last thing that I want to say is let's work together, you guys. So I do have a program where I teach you pretty much everything that we have talked about tonight as far as structure goes. So in the program, I teach you guys how to actually set up these three trusts that I'm talking about: the unincorporated business trust, the private family trust, and the tax exempt trust, okay? So you could either decide to do it yourself, and that's a course where you get 42 video modules, you get the templates, you download them, and you start customizing your own trust. So you get lifetime access to the course, you get all the resources that you need in order to be able to operate a trust, you guys, okay? So I teach you how to actually operate a trust, right? So you need to do board meetings, you need to file taxes, you need to open up a bank account, you need to do all these things. And so you actually learn all of that stuff inside of the course. You also get the ebooks that I just mentioned. So a lot of the books that I just mentioned, you get them in ebook form inside of the program. Plus, you get a Facebook community. So the Facebook community has about 200 trustees in there that have gone through what you are about to go through. And so you are going to be able to leverage your community and learn from them. So the course is $997. And then the next option is Done With You, where you get it's a workshop. So it's a 5-day training. on Zoom, and we do it together as a group, okay? So you have full access to me, and I will show you guys how to set up everything, okay? So it's Monday through Friday. The next one starts next week, you guys. So if you guys are intentional about getting your affairs in order and you want to start off 2024 the right way, then you want to get into this workshop that we have starting on Monday. So it's Monday through Friday. It's 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you guys. And on Monday, we set up the business trust. Tuesday, we set up the private family trust. And Wednesday, we set up the ministry trust. And we become ordained ministers for our trust, okay? And then on Thursday, we apply for EINs. We do board meetings. And then we do promissory notes, and we establish business credit for our business trust. And then on Friday, we transfer our assets. So houses, cars, and businesses. And then we learn about infinite banking so that could be the first asset inside of our trust. Okay. So you get assistance, you get the Q&A, you still get the course as well, and the Facebook community and all these things. So that is actually the best option because with that option, if you do it as a group, you get to learn things that you was not going to learn on your own because you get to feed off of the other people who are asking questions. This totally is really powerful, you guys. And the workshop is 2,500. And then the last option, if you want to do private sessions. So this is individualized extended support. So we do a little bit more things than you would learn in the course or in the workshop. And you still get access to the workshop, and it's lifetime access. So any single workshop that we have, you guys can attend, and the course. So the private sessions are $10,000. So you get to choose, you just choose which option works best for you. Hold on one second. Let's see here. Trying to mute somebody. All right, so you choose which option works best for you. And right now, because it is because 2024 just started, I'm actually running a half off sale, and it's going to end tomorrow. So action takers are money makers. So if you guys are interested, you need to take advantage of that 50% off so that you can get your trust set up like literally next week. So the discount code is New Year's, and the website is wealthytrusty.com. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys what the trust looks like, and then I'm going to hand it off to my partner. Hold on, let me see here. Let's see here. Hold on. Hold on. Trying to, oh, I'm having technical issues. Can you get this thing out of the way? Hold on, guys. Let me see here. There we go. All right, so what I wanted to do was just show you guys what an actual trust looks like. So this is what a trust looks like. So this is one of the templates that you would get with the actual program. So you get to download it and customize it. Everything that you see in red is what you're going to be customizing for your specific business or family. And then this is what the actual course looks like. So like I said, there's 42 video modules. So you guys learn what a trust entity is. Then you learn about the different trusts. So I actually break down every single paragraph of the trust. So you do it for the ministry trust, for the family trust, for the business trust. You learn about tax strategies. You learn how to protect your assets, take inventory of the assets and transfer them. And you learn how to build wealth with the trust, and then you get the resources and the ebooks. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to pass it to my partner Marvin Mitchell. He has been a financial advisor for I guess about 18 years now, and so he's going to be teaching us more wealth building strategies, especially when it comes to insurance. So Marvin, you have the floor. Thank you so much for being here.
All right. What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Tyrone, I see you pumping your fist like you know who I am or something. So um I'm excited to be on here and talk to y'all really quick about just simple strategy with life insurance. I know Christina mentioned that life insurance should be your first asset. There's a reason why life insurance should be your first asset. So I'm not going to really go into teaching you too much in depth because that's more so saved for the class that she's doing next week. But I am going to teach you some strategies, a real quick lesson on life insurance, on why it's so important and how it can actually grow your assets and help you to multiply your money multiple times off the same dollar. So Christina mentioned the trust. That's so important because I paid $45,000 for a trust that's inferior to the one that she teaches you and the one that she actually helps you to set up. So you can do all the shopping around that you want to, but I guarantee you, you will not find a more robust trust for the amount that she's actually charging to help you to do it. In fact, I keep telling her that she needs to raise her prices. She won't listen to me yet. But believe me, I will get through to her and I promise you she will raise her prices. But I'm telling you, you can't even get a basic trust for the amount that she's charging to get 3 robust trusts throughout her program. So don't miss that. And the fact that it's 50% off, so 50% off of what's already, in my opinion, too little to charge for these trusts. So make sure y'all take advantage of that. So what I want to do is I want to share my screen and talk to you all about a quick lesson on life insurance. So why not just make your first asset real estate, or why not make your first asset any other investment and just use cash to pay for that asset instead of funneling it through your life insurance first and then being able to borrow against that life insurance to then go out and buy that same asset. Well, there's a problem with paying with cash. So when you pay with cash, you first have to save the cash, taking some time. Then you got taxes on the cash that you're saving. Then, of course, you have to drain the tank, which kills your compound interest. So what do I mean by that? So if I have $100,000 and I spend cash $50,000 to buy an asset, I'm only making interest now on 50,000. I'm no longer making interest on 100,000 because I drained my tank, and now I have to actually fill that tank back up just to get back to where I was. So what I'm losing is I'm losing opportunity costs. Opportunity cost is the money that I could have earned had I not spent that initial money. See, what we have to learn to do is create money babies, which means that your money must multiply 3 to 4 times. You got to leverage your money and make it continue to work for you multiple times, because if not, what happens in our community especially is that we spend it one time and then it's gone. That's not how you build wealth. That's not how you build generational wealth. We got to learn to leverage. So let me give y'all a really quick example of the true cost of paying for cash when you buy your assets. So let's say we save $30,000 a year. We made 8%. Let's just say we did this for 30 years, and then we drained our tank every 5 years, which means we bought a vehicle, we bought some assets every 5 years. Then we got to wait 5 years to just refill that tank. I want you to see how difference this makes, how much difference this makes, right? So the only thing you did differently is funnel money through your life insurance first and borrowed against it instead of using cash and continuing to fill your tank. The red represents the cash, and you're draining your tank and then you're filling it back up. You're draining your tank and then you're filling it back up. The green represents being a wealth creator, which means that you're never stopping the forward momentum of your money. It just keeps growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and growing. The snowball effect, it never stops growing. Albert Einstein said the magic of compounding, right? You never stop compounding that money. This is how much different you will be in 30 years. Instead of having $220,000 that you have to pay taxes on, you'll have $3,700,376 that's tax free. I want you to understand the power of what I just said. You're buying the same thing, you're just structuring it differently. Now you have an additional $3.5 million in your account, doing nothing different outside of funneling the money through your life insurance first. That's why life insurance is your first asset. So what if you can make these purchases without emptying the tank? If you don't use your capital, then whose capital do you use? So you're going to collateralize a loan from a financial institution. You're going to secure the loan by pledging a portion of the private reserve. Essentially, what you're going to do, you're going to build up the cash value in the life insurance, and you're going to borrow against that while your money continues to grow. Christina did a great job explaining this earlier. So this is how it works. So you have your private reserve, which is the collateral. This is your cash value. You're going to go to the financial institution. You're going to say, I want to borrow against my money. They're going to give you money. Then you're going to go out and purchase your assets, and then you're going to pay yourself back. Now, if you don't pay yourself back, that's okay. It's simply subtracted from the financial institution. Subtracted from the death benefit. So the amount you have in your private reserve account that can be collateralized. 3 things you can do to increase the amount that you can borrow. Number 1, when you contribute new money. Number 2, it's going to immediately grow the internal growth within the portfolio. Number 3, when you reduce it and pay off the loan, now you can go borrow more. That's why I choose to pay off my loan, because I choose to borrow against it and continue to buy new things. I have over $700,000 now in my cash value that I can borrow against. It didn't start off that way. A lot of you are thinking, well, that you must have had money to do. No, I did not. When I first started, all I can do was $9,000 per year. I just built it up over time. And when I made more money, I was able to start new accounts. So now I have 6 different life insurance policies set up. Whenever I make more money, I start a new policy. I want to funnel all of my money through the life insurance. So I want you to think about this. Right now, what you're doing is you're taking all of your bills and you're putting you're taking your entire check, you're paying your bills, and you're putting your money in the bank. The bank is using your money to make money. Why are you not putting your money into your own bank and then using your own bank to borrow from it and make money while your bank is still making money? Does that make sense? So who are you funneling your money through? Somebody else's bank or your own bank? So when you do have a private reserve strategy, private reserve account, some ideal characteristics is you want it to be tax-deferred growth. You want it to be tax-free distributions. You don't want taxes. You want it to be a competitive return. Also, high contribution limits. You want it to be deductible contributions if possible. You want collateral opportunities. That means you want to have the ability to borrow against it while your money continues to grow so you can go out and purchase more investments. You want it to be safe, which means you don't want to lose it. No loss provisions. You want guaranteed loan options, which means that no matter what your credit score is, no matter what's happening on your job, none of that matters. If you got money, you can borrow it. Unstructured loan payments, which means that you don't have to pay it back. That means that if you fall into hard times, you don't pay it back. It's simply subtracted from your death benefit when you die. You also want liquidity, use, and control of your money. So you don't want to wait until you're 59 and a half like you have to do with a 401k or with a 403b or with a thrift savings plan. I don't want to wait until I'm 59 and a half to use my money. I want to use my money now. I want to borrow against my money now. I want to expand my business now. So you want that use and control of your money and also additional benefits. So when you use permanent insurance as a private reserve, this is how it works. Same way, you're going to build up your cash value. Then you're going to go to the insurance company and say, I want to borrow against my cash value. They're going to take a lien against your cash value. You're going to get an interest-only loan, which means you only pay interest. It's only interest only. Then you're going to take that. Then you're going to buy the asset. Then you can pay it back, which is non-structured. Remember, you don't have to pay it back. But when you do pay it back, what happens is you reduce your lien capacity and that account continues to grow, right? So this is how you want to work it. So permanent life insurance, when it's designed and utilized properly, can provide that stable growth cash value, the ability to borrow, guaranteed loan access, no annual tax on the growth or death benefits, and you get additional benefits. So I'm going to quickly tell you about a 10-minute lesson on life insurance, and then we're going to wrap up with this life insurance conversation. So let's just say, hypothetically, Raymond, let's say I can get a $500,000 death benefit. Well, with that $500,000 death benefit, there's a minimum amount that I can fund to get that $500,000 death benefit. But there's also a maximum amount that I can fund to get the $500,000 death benefit. So I want y'all to type this in the chat. This is where I need your participation. So get ready. If you haven't seen this presentation before, I want you to answer this. Who do you think determines the minimum amount you can put into a life insurance policy? Who determines the minimum amount that you can put into a life insurance policy? Write it in the chat. All right. Tyrone says, I do. Patricia says, you do, which is the same as I do. Not me, but you do. Anybody? We got 2 people who guessed out of 28 people in the room. All right. TJ says the insurance provider. Jay Burgo said you. Anybody else? We got 4 or 5 people. Come on, y'all. Action takers or money makers. Your age and the provider. Okay. We do. Okay. So the correct answer, drum roll, please. The correct answer is actually the insurance company. So you got it right. TJ, the one person with the question mark, got it right. So it is the insurance company. So why do the insurance company determine how much you can put into it? Because they know the least amount you can put in to make it profitable for the insurance company. They're called underwriters, right? So one more question for you, and I want y'all to guess on this too. Who do you think determines the maximum amount that you can put into the policy? Who do you think determines the maximum amount that you can put into the policies? Insurance company, the same person, same individual. Any more guesses? This is where the fun comes in. The policy holders. All right. So the answer, okay. Juan and TJ, the second guest, got it right. The answer is the IRS. It's the government. So the question is why would the government be concerned about how much money you put into a life insurance policy? Why would the government care about how much I put into a life insurance policy? I told you all earlier, right? It's tax-free. It's tax deferred, right? So the thing about it is, you all, there's infinite ways that you can fund a life insurance policy. But what the government said in the 1980s, wealthy people used to just dump millions of dollars into these policies because they wanted to avoid taxation. And it was one of those little secret rules that in order to avoid taxation that a lot of high-level CPAs knew about. So what they did is in the 80s, they created something that said that if you invest too much money in, we're going to treat it the same way that we treat your 401ks, your IRAs, your qualified plans, which means it's tax deferred, but it got to be taxed on the back end. This was called a MEC. A MEC means a modified endowment contract. That essentially means that you put too much money into it, and now your account is taxable. This is with permanent policies. So if I only put in 500, which is the minimum, what kind of policy is that called, you all? If I put the minimum amount into the life insurance policy, what for the $500,000 death benefit, what kind of policy is that called? Going once, going twice. All right, cool. Patricia guessed it. She said term. You're absolutely right. It's called term. Now, the only benefit on term is the death benefit. So if I'm going to put in $10,000 into a policy that I could have got for 500, it better be some good benefits, right? And it is. That's where you get the tax deferred growth on that money. Most of that money goes to your cash value. You get that tax-free distribution. You get the competitive return we talked about, the high contributions, the additional benefits, the ability to borrow, the collateral opportunities. It's safe. It's creditor protected, you all. No loss provision, guaranteed loan options, unstructured loan payments, which means you don't have to pay it back, liquidity, use, and control. You get all of that, right? Now, when we fund this, we want to fund it for the lowest death benefit and the highest cash value. Why? Because if most companies are gonna structure your policies for the highest amount of death benefit and the lowest amount of cash value, because when they structure it the way that I structure it, they get 70% more commission. When they structure it their way, they get 70% more commission. When we structure it for the lowest death benefit, we get 70% less commission. So when people say, why didn't my agent ever tell me about this? Because it's hard to get a man to understand something that their pocketbook depends on them not understanding, or that their wallet depends on them not understanding. It's hard to get anybody to understand something when they're taking 70% less commission, or at least they don't want to admit that they know that, right? And not just the individual. Well, what about the companies? If I'm making 70% less, do you think that the big institutions want to go out and tell all of their agents to make 70% less commission? How many billions of dollars would they lose? So you have to have somebody who's willing to tell you straight and tell you the truth. So that's why we want to structure it that way, right? We want to structure it in that particular way. You can do whole life, you can do index universal life. Whole life is good if you just want to borrow from it. Like our whole life products, you can fund it and borrow from it within 10 days. 10 days. That means if I put in 20,000, I can go borrow most of that money in 10 days. It used to be 30. Now I found out that they made it available in only 10 days now. This is my first time. I just found that out last week. I said, what? You could do it in 10 days? That's crazy. So so with the whole life though, you get a fixed rate of return, let's say 4 or 5%. Now with the IUL, index universal life, that's really good for long term, right? The reason why it's good for long term is because let's say if I had $100,000, I'm sorry, I put my money into the index universal life, I'll get a cap. Let's say my cap is 12%. If the market makes 6, I can make 6. If it makes 12, I can even make 12. But if it makes 15, the most I can make is 12. And if the market goes down, I don't lose. So I can make up to 12, but I don't lose. And I can use that for guaranteed tax-free income for the rest of my life. So that's what an IUL is, right? So which one is best for you? It really depends. Now, the good news is my team is going to walk you through it to help you to choose the best option. We can drop that link in the chat to set up your meeting to talk about your life insurance policy. And because this is Christina's very dedicated webinar, we normally charge $497 for that. And it's completely complimentary for anybody who stayed the course an hour and 37 minutes into the presentation and still decided that they wanted to be here to continue to learn about these things. We're going to help you to set it up complimentary, no cost, for free. And when you get your trust, we're actually going to make sure that you have your trust attached to the life insurance policy. So we're even going to help you to find the money. We're going to help you to find the money. Find the money means there's a lot of you are thinking about what's the minimum I can put in, but you don't even realize that there's money that you have that you're losing unknowingly and unnecessarily. You don't even realize that we can help you to find $1,000 a month that you don't even know you have. That once we help you to find it, we can help you to put it into a place where you can save it. So now I'm going to give y'all a little test to end this out. Somebody got to be muted. So I'm going to give y'all a little bitty test to end this out. So to make sure y'all paying attention. Don't worry about getting it wrong, you all. I just want your participation. I don't expect everybody to get this right. So let's say I have $100,000 in cash. The $100,000 in cash is earning me 5%. 1 year later, how much money do I have in my cash account? I didn't spend it. I got $100,000 earning me 5%. 1 year later, how much money total do I have in my account? Put it in the chat. Not a trick question. I just want to make sure you're paying attention. 100,000 earning me 5%. 1 year later, how much money do I have in my account? Don't be afraid to get it wrong. That's how you learn.
Say it again.
See, that's what I'm talking about, TJ. TJ is like, if I'm going to be wrong, let me be wrong. I love it. Don't be afraid to guess, y'all. You're right. It's 105,000. I got 100,000 earning me 5%. 5% of 100,000 is 5,000. 100,000 times 5 is 105,000. So 1 year later, I have 105,000. All right. So let me give you a test. Let me give you another test. This one's easy too, but I need you to think about it. Put your answer right away though. So I got $100,000 in my cash value life insurance. It's earning me 5%. This time though, I borrowed $30,000 against my life insurance, and I go out and I buy an asset. 1 year later, how much is in my cash value? Put it in the chat. Got $100,000 earning me 5%. I borrow $30,000. 1 year later, how much do I have in my cash value life insurance policy? Put it in the chat. Okay, so now y'all are paying attention. You're right. Dang, you was almost right. Still $105,000. Still $105,000. Think about it, you all. I got 100,000 earning me 5%. This time, I borrow $30,000 against that money. Remember, you all, it doesn't matter that I borrowed against that money because the money is still continuing to grow as if I never touched it. Remember, if the money is growing as if I never touched it, it doesn't matter if I borrow against it or not, it's growing the exact same way. Put some fireball emojis or something if this is mind-blowing to you, if it's making sense to you. So if the money is growing the same, whether I borrowed against it or not, it's truly use it or lose it. So if the money is growing the same, whether I borrow against it or not, should I borrow against it or should I not borrow against it? What do you all think? Some people actually have these policies, but they don't take advantage of it and they never borrow against it, and they're defeating the purpose of having it. Now, if I do borrow against it, should I buy an asset or should I buy a liability? Exactly, right? So this is how you grow your money several times off the same dollar. This is how I'm gonna tell y'all my four-way play, and I'm gonna end right there. I'm gonna tell you my four-way play on how to make money 4 times off the same dollar. So what I did was I started me a cash value life insurance policy. So I built up my cash value. I wanted to go out and buy me an asset, which was real estate. But I didn't just use my cash value. I got business funding. I used my business funding and turned that to cash. And then I went out and I paid a down payment for a real estate investment. And then what I did was I immediately took my cash value, borrowed against it, and paid off the credit card. Now I was making money off the life insurance policy as if I never touched it. I had all of the points from my cash value, and I'm making money off the real estate. And once I grew the real estate asset up enough, I did a home equity line of credit, borrowed enough from the real estate asset to get a down payment to buy another real estate asset. Now I just made money 4 times off the same dollar. Again, too many people fail and use their money and lose it after the first dollar. But my money works for me 6, 7 times sometimes. So with that being said, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a couple of questions really quick. And then we're going to give it back to Christina to answer a couple of trust questions. And then we'll go ahead and end and see who's taking advantage of her offer today. So who has a question today? If you have a question, put up your hand raise button under reactions, and I'll answer just a couple of questions about the life insurance, and then I'll turn it back over to Christina. Well, I appreciate the fact that nobody left during my presentation, so that's great. All right, going once, going twice.
Marvin.
Hey, what's going on?
All right. Okay, go back to the scenario where you said using it
Who is this talking
times.
to me?
This is Juan.
Okay, Juan. What was that?
All right. The last scenario you just said about borrowing against it, also the credit card. Run that play back again. Repeat that.
All right. So I have my cash value life insurance, which remember is growing whether I borrow against it or not. You got me so far?
Correct.
Okay. But I don't just use my life insurance. I get business funding first because I want to use the credit because I want my points. So then I turn that into cash, which I don't have time to talk about today, but you can do that.
Right.
So
I
I
understand.
use the money from the credit card and I go out and put a down payment on a property. So
Right.
now I have the debt, right?
Correct.
Now I'm going to immediately borrow from my cash value to pay off that credit card debt.
Gotcha.
You got me? So now I'm making money off the life insurance. Now I borrowed against it and paid off the credit card. Why would I do that? Because I have no debt on the credit card anymore, but I have the points. I can use those points to travel. I can use those points for hotels. I can use those points for a lot of other things. And I have the asset. So now I'm making money 3 times off the same dollar because the cash value is still growing. I got the points from the credit card and I'm making money on my real estate asset. And once the real estate asset grows, I can do a home equity line of credit, borrow from that, and then use that down payment to buy another property. Now I just made money off my money 4 times off the same dollar. And then I'm going to protect all of that with my trust. Make sense?
Correct. Yes.
All right. Tyrone,
Do
do
you
you
know
have
if
a
it'll be a
question?
replay offered available for this sent out?
I think she puts it on her YouTube. So if you don't, if you follow Christina on her YouTube, 7 Ways to Wealth, you can actually look at this entire replay on her YouTube channel.
Okay.
We have blueberries.
Any other
Nothing
questions?
about some of those dishes.
All right.
A long
Well, we're going to,
time to
Tyrone, do
like
you have a question?
Hold on. Let me
Yeah,
mute.
all I want to say is thank God I finally got to see you, man. I've been watching you from this military ship now almost 2 years, man.
Nice.
I've been out here, man. And I'm just saying, yo, guys, this guy is real. This guy is the truth. I've seen him. Man, I'm just so proud to be able to speak to you, brother. That's all I want to say,
Man,
man.
it's a
Yeah,
pleasure,
thank
man.
God.
It's a pleasure.
Finally
I
got a
love,
chance to speak to you. Thank you, Miss Christina. Thank you, man.
You're
I
welcome,
wouldn't miss
Tyrone.
this one. I wouldn't miss this one, man. No way.
yeah. And
That
I
man, the
love the
truth right
good
there, guys.
energy. I love the
That
good
man, the
energy,
truth.
Tyrone. Appreciate
Yes,
it. So I'm
sir.
gonna turn it
Man, it's
over to back over to Christina so she can do a conclusion with you all and
Radio check.
answer a couple questions as well about the trust. So
Radio
Christina,
check.
thank you for allowing me as a guest today. Back on you.
Thank you, Marvin. Appreciate you educating everyone and letting us know how we could build wealth using insurance. So I'm going to open up the floor for questions. If anybody has any questions on setting up a trust, please go ahead and come off mute, ask your question. We are about to wrap it up. So we'll have like a few more minutes. So does anyone have a question about how to actually set up a trust?
I'm
How
gonna open it
you
up.
build your estate. Let's see here.
But it's very angle.
I don't know who's on mute, off mute. Let's see.
And I almost forgot, while you all are waiting to have a question, can we drop that link again? Let me see. I'm gonna go to insurancetrustcall.com.
Mm-hmm. All right,
Right.
Talk Money Coach has a question. What is your question?
Yeah, thank you, first of all, for you and Marvin for hosting this particular situation. My first question is with I had my family, they created a family trust. Are we able to do the same things I didn't know, I didn't hear you say whether a family trust is revocable or irrevocable.
So I mean, it depends on your family trust, but the ones that I provide in the program are irrevocable, all 3 trusts. So in my program, I provide a business trust, family trust, and a ministry trust, and all 3 of them are irrevocable. And so you want your family trust to own your insurance policies.
Okay, sweet. So I'm checking their paperwork. How would it state if I have all the paperwork for this particular family trust? Would I just have to look through it to see if it's revocable or irrevocable?
Yeah, the verbiage is in there. So it should tell you on the declaration page what type of trust it is.
Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you again.
You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. All right, who's next? Do we have any other questions before we wrap it up for the night? All right, Glorious Locks. Hey, Glorious, you joined us from Instagram, didn't you?
I did, Christina. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for getting in the room, girl.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Zipporah,
Oh, nice.
and I am actually left my job last year to work in my business full time. And
Congratulations.
thank you so much. I guess the question I have for you is I do not have any kind of insurance or um, retirement or anything like that set up. Would this be a good time to get into the family trust and then get all of my insurance set up? Or do I go ahead and set up whatever insurance it is? I'm still kind of doing research. I'm new at doing research with, the IRAs and the 401ks because I'm a single member LLC right now. So I don't know if my question is making sense. I'm
Yeah,
kind of all over the place trying to figure this thing out.
yeah, so it's up to you how you prefer to do it. You can grab your insurance and then you can change the ownership later into the trust. So if
Okay.
you want to get your insurance today or tomorrow, then go ahead and get your insurance. It is going to be in your personal name, so you're going to personally own it, and then you can switch your ownership once you set up your trust. Or you could do it the other way around where you set up your trust and then grab your insurance. So it's preference and you just decide what works best for you and your family.
Okay. Yeah, because I was trying to figure out if doing it one way or the other would make more sense and not be as complicated because I don't want to do something twice if there's a better way to do it. So, all right. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Thank you for asking that good question. Tyrone?
Yeah, the question that I had a guy that actually set up my two LLCs since I've been on the ship, but I wanted him to structure it in a way that he that I can get a trust. And I didn't find anyone that can actually do the trust till now it's you. So do I need to say, I think what I'm trying to say, do I need to get any more LLCs or do you just need to check what I have?
So what you're going to do is you're going to put those LLCs into your trust. So you don't need any more LLCs
Okay,
if you're not planning on creating like a new business, right?
all right.
For example, if you wanted to create a new business, you could, and you could operate that new business under a business trust. Or you can leave what you have existing now and then just make sure that the owner of those two LLCs that you have is your business trust so that you can protect those assets because your LLC is an asset and you need it to be
Yeah,
protected
it is.
or somebody tries
Right.
to sue your company. So yeah, so go ahead and, set up that business trust and have it be your holding company for your LLCs.
Okay. All right. Cool. All
All
right.
right.
All
Thank
right.
you for
Well, I
asking
get
that
with
good
you and
question,
try to set
Tyra.
up a call. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So in the chat, I have the links so that you can set up a call with me. You can set up a call with Marvin's team so you can get your insurance set up. And then I also have the discount code. So if you guys are ready to get into the program, you want to take action, you want 50% off for the next 24 hours, then go ahead and visit wealthytrustee.com and use the discount code New Year because we are in a new year, you guys. Okay, it's 2024. We got to get our affairs in order. We got to create our own estate because if not, the state is going to create one for us. Okay, and they're going to give our family pennies and peanuts, and we don't want that to happen. So let's think about protecting our assets, preserving our wealth, and how we're going to transfer our wealth. SB, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing wonderful today.
All right, the question was, do we need a separate attorney to finish off everything, or would everything be done with you?
Yeah, so you don't need an attorney. So once you are done setting up your trust, you're just gonna get it notarized by a notary in your state, okay? And that's pretty much it. It becomes a legal entity that you can operate, and now you can go apply for an EIN, you can open up a bank account, you can transfer assets into the trust.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Juan, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing
Appreciate
great.
all appreciate all the information. I came in late, so I came in on the towards the end. I caught Marvin and a few minutes of you before he came on.
Oh,
Um,
okay, awesome. Well, we do have a replay. It's on YouTube, okay? So the entire
okay.
thing from beginning to end is on YouTube. I highly recommend that you visit our YouTube channel and subscribe, of course, because there's a lot of good information there, more information than what I was able to disclose in this 90 minutes, okay? But
Okay.
what is your question, Juan?
Do you offer reviews for trust? I have a couple of trusts set up. I have a family trust. I have some beneficiary trusts. But I need to update and because some of my beneficiaries are what I had as the trustees. That some of them have passed, so it's been a while since I had the trust. So I kind of need to update everything. Do you offer that and also a review?
Yes, I do. I offer to audit your existing trust. So you do have to send me an email so that I can see, what it is that you have. And then I'll be able to give you a price for what the audit is going to be for your particular situation, okay?
Okay.
Yes.
What's the
So
email address to reach you at?
um
Or
yeah, it's in the chat, but I'll let you know it's info at the number 7 ways to wealth.com. Are you able to access the chat?
yes.
Okay, so you'll see it in the chat under company contact info.
Okay, I see it right now. All
All
right.
right, Juan. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Did you jump in from Instagram too?
I got an email, so I
Oh,
just
nice.
happened to check my email and saw it, and I said, "Oh, I think I wanted to see this," so I
Oh,
jumped right
awesome.
on.
I'm so glad that you joined us live. So, thank you so much. Tomorrow, Marvin has a webinar tomorrow, and he's going to go through a lot of this information as well. So I highly recommend that you jump on his webinar. So I'm going to put the link in there so that you could jump on there if you're free tomorrow as well. So do I have any other questions before we wrap it up? And then let me just go ahead and put the discount code again. Discount code is New Year.
I got
And
a question.
oh, absolutely, girl.
So you said if you choose the second option, I guess do with you, it's a 5 day.
Yeah,
Okay, so what would the time go? Because I don't know if it will work. I was thinking about getting it, but I don't know if they'll work for my schedule. So what would the time be for those days?
that's a good question. So it's the time is 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's recorded. Um, then another thing is one is recorded, two, you have lifetime access to the workshops. Okay. So we are starting the workshop next week, Monday. So it's going to go from Monday through Friday for those 5 days. And it's just a wealth of information, but I hold you accountable and walk you through everything. If you're not able to attend next week, then you have lifetime access to attend. So you could attend in February, March, April, May, whenever you want, okay? So you could attend every single month if you want. Or next year, when you decide, hey, I want to set up my 6th trust, let me jump into the workshop, you can do that as well. Someone had asked if they're able to upgrade. Absolutely. So let's just say that you wanted to get into the course, you're doing it yourself, and you're like, hey, I need that accountability. I want to do the workshop. You can upgrade for the difference whenever you want.
Okay, and one more question: do you also have like a payment plan on your site or anything like that?
I do. I do have a payment plan. That's a good option. So, the thing with the payment plan is that you cannot like use the discount or anything with the payment plan, but if you want the payment plan, that's good. So we do offer it. It is on the website. And usually you can break it up into 3 to 5 payments. And if you need anything custom, you can let us know.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's see.
Marvin's website.
I'm looking for it. Marvin, can you put the link in there because I can't find it. I thought it was like Scale to Success, but It's not working for me.
And I got a question about his insurance.
Yeah, go ahead. Let me see. No
Okay,
insurance.
so if I understood him, if I come into the program, get the three trusts, I have a home free and clear right now. I think it's somewhere around $150,000 value in this area, and I tap my credit card line of credit, which is like $60,000, and I want to pull a lot of that money out and put it in the life insurance policy Marvin is saying that you can access within 10 days. Am I correct so far? If I want to buy a life insurance policy to wrap around the trust using the real estate asset and maybe some of my cash value off the credit cards to get more money into the life insurance so that after the 10 days or the 15 days that he was referencing, I could then take that money and buy a potential secondary real estate asset. Am I correct so far? Is that doable?
It's doable.
Okay, so your program tomorrow about the life insurance, will I be able to get on that site? I think you put the link up. This is the first time I've talked to you guys. Will I be able to get on that link tomorrow to hit you up with more questions? Because this information has been shielded, at least from me. I've been looking for it. You guys you got a great presentation, and I like where you're going. I need to be there. The only thing is, I am retired. So I got to restructure my pension monies. I got 5 pensions coming at me, real estate free and clear, but I need to get it to work for me because I'm losing money, not being structured.
Yeah. So if you want more so personal conversations with my team to have more detailed, specific
Yeah, the
questions,
one-on-one. I think I need the
that's
one-on-one because I want to
that's
get
right.
going.
And that one-on-one won't be with me, but it'll be with my experts on my team.
Okay,
But that'll be insurancetrustcall.com.
okay,
And basically it's a process. So when you go through the process, you're going to be, it's just going to be a short meeting, and somebody from my team is going to have some questions for you, and then they're going to direct you, if you qualify, which you should, you do, I know you will. They're going to direct you to a longer meeting, like a 60-minute time spot to get all of your questions answered from someone on my team, and that's complimentary. That's insurancetrustcall.com. For my webinar tomorrow, that's a free webinar. We don't do a lot of Q&A on that call. That's really more education, but that's the scaleyoursuccess.com for the free webinar tomorrow.
okay. Beautiful. All right.
Appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Next we have Michelle. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Uh, Hi, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for this information. My question was, and you may have answered it, for our personal property, which of our trusts, when we're building that structure, should that go in?
So for your personal property, it should go in your family trust.
In the family trust. Okay. And then one other question around the IUL. Can old rollover 401ks, can those funds be added to our IUL or no? That may be a question for Marvin. Did I freeze?
No, you didn't freeze. Marvin, are you available to answer her question?
What was the question?
I was asking if old 401k funds from a previous employer, can those funds be used to fund an IUL, or would that not be allowed, like from a 401k or IRA
So
or something like
technically,
that?
yes, I wouldn't recommend it,
Okay.
because the old 401ks, you would probably want to roll over to an IRA, but you also have to remember on those retirement plans like that, if you take them out, not only will you get taxed on it, but if you take them out before you're 59 and a half, you're also going to get hit with a 10% penalty as well. So you got the penalty and you got the taxation. So you might have 35 to 40% of it gone before you're able even to fund a policy. So that don't make too much financial sense to me. So I wouldn't do it. But if you do need help, someone on my team, we absolutely could help you roll that money over and then maybe help you to convert it into a Roth over time where it can be tax-free. So it'll be a longer approach to sort of minimize your taxation, but just pulling it directly out. Because I'm assuming by your picture that unless you have a picture that's 30 years from 30 years ago, that you're under 59 and a half. So I
Yes.
wouldn't do that in this case.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, perfect. Let's see here. All right, and I just want to congratulate Patricia Stevens. Patricia just signed up for the workshop, so she signed up for Done With You. Thank you so much, Patricia. I'm super excited that you are going to be with us next week from Monday through Friday and setting up your business trust, your family trust, and your ministry trust. So shout out to Patricia in the chat and congrats. Exactly. She just took action and she just enrolled into the program. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes,
Congrats.
exactly. So I'm super excited. So we are going to wrap it up, you guys. And if you are, just take action on the information that we provided tonight. So if you are ready to, to get into the program, go to wealthytrustee.com, use that discount code for the next 24 hours. And let me know if you have any questions. So you can actually email us if you have any questions, or go on Instagram or YouTube or any of those things. So thank you guys for being here tonight, and have a good night.
Thank
out.
you.
Thank you so
You
much.
as well.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Princess. Thank you.